Hi there, it's Brad Hornby here. Welcome back to another personal vlog here. Personal vlog number 47, and this is just like all my personal vlogs, my personal opinion here, but this is also kind of a fan of this particular guide I'm going to talk about here is personal vlog number 47, what Andrew Younghusband should do now, or at least what I think he should do now. I'm a huge fan of Andrew Younghusband. You might watch his many shows on the Discovery Channel there. I mean, he's most famous for being the host of Canada's Worst Driver. He also was the host on Canada's Worst Handyman that went on for 6 seasons there. He also was in a couple shows, Don't Drive Here and Tougher Than Looks, which kind of goes back to his main host there. I think being the host of Canada's Worst Driver especially is tougher than it looks. And actually, Canada's Worst Driver lasted for 14 seasons, believe it or not. And all those shows are all under the company called Proper Television that Guy Sullivan was the producer of, and I know he passed away a couple years ago there, but there were nice shows that he produced on Discovery Canada there, but I'm not personally a friend of Andrew Younghusband, but on Facebook there, you could follow him so you can see his posts there. I mean, he definitely has had a unique and interesting life there, and he seems pretty good at being in the public spotlight there, and me personally, I would definitely love to meet him and pose a picture with him and tell him I'm a fan of how he is as a host there. But I mean, this is definitely my personal opinion of what I think he should do now, because on his Facebook page there, just after Victoria Day there, he had a long statement there that he said, unfortunately, Canada's Worst Driver has come to an end there. He felt bad about the fact that there was no farewell season, and I'm going to say for the most part he enjoyed being the host there. I know there was a few people that he probably had it up to hear him, and he's definitely a better man than me when it comes to that, because I definitely wouldn't be able to take some of the people that he had to deal with there. I'd say come to your own conclusions what people I'm talking about here, but this is all talking about Andrew's a guy there, but he definitely he looked like a fun guy to get to know, and even when he does his teaching moments and outbursts there about making mistakes or do something bad or trying to come what he's trying to ask you, does it all for show there too, and has to be entertaining there. But also, if you watch the Canada's Worst Handyman series there, if you were named the worst for that particular episode, you get a private lesson with Andrew Younghusband himself, and some of them seemed very interesting, especially when they panned away from the scene and still continue hearing in his voice in the contestant there. But yeah, I mean, other work that I know that Andrew Younghusband did, I think the show was called Tall Ship Chronicles, and that was all before he got his biggest gig with the Canada Worst Driver series. I know if you look on his bio there, I know he was born in Australia there, but he moved to Canada when he's young, and he's a Canadian citizen, and he's from the St. John's, Newfoundland area there, so he's in the far east part of the country there. And I mean, the farthest east I've ever been was when I went to Ottawa and for the 105th Grey Cups there, so I know that I haven't spent time in Atlantic Canada there. Maybe that's where he bumps into a lot of his fans there, and I mean, he definitely seems very fond of contestants that came from that part of the country there. But if I was a host of a show and something like that and had contestants from Alberta, it's the same thing, so it's mutual there. But I definitely, of all the shows, from obviously Canada's Worst Driver and Canada's Worst Handyman, but more so with the Tougher Than It Looks there. I mean, he's definitely a very, very great actor, and he's taken on very many roles there, and I think Andrew Younghusband would definitely. I mean, this is my personal opinion. You can do what he wants for a career there, but I think he may be interested in a few different professions there. When sadly he's no longer the host of Canada's Worst Driver there. I know he picks up a lot of facts there on some of his opening there for Canada's Worst Driver there. I definitely think he would definitely be a great, maybe he could be on another Discovery Channel show where he talks about a particular history and he can narrate that. I mean, I definitely think he definitely could be great at that, being some kind of historian, or maybe be a guide, how he can talk about the history while being witty and that at the same time. I mean, obviously, when in acting school, you have to be very versatile there, but it'd be interesting to see if Andrew Younghusband can do that, if he's so desired. Also, he would definitely be fun to watch if he was a newscaster, especially if there was an action news format there. I mean, definitely has a serious tone, which he does show that too, but he definitely can be good both at behind the desk talking the news, or go out in the field there on some weird stories there. I mean, I think he would definitely be great there, and I believe he did a little bit of that in his career before he became known on the Canada Worst series there. I mean, also how he talks to the contestants and nominators, and how he definitely has a thick skin with someone. He can definitely, I feel he could probably work well in some kind of counseling role, be a general counselor. I mean, that could be another thing that I think Andrew Younghusband should do now, but I don't want to go back to stuff on TV there. The other thing I almost would, if I ever met him in person there, is ask him, well, before he did over 10 seasons of Canada's Worst Driver there, and there were some habits that people across the country did that drove him crazy, and said, don't do that. For example, the one thing that stood out to me is that when he did the Don't Drive Here show, and that show was definitely very extreme in terms of learning in a particular city, in a particular country, where traffic is notoriously bad, and he's like, he gives this challenge that ultimately, spoiler alert, he fails at it, but it's pretty ambitious to say, would a week be long enough for me to do this particular job in this city, in this particular culture there. But I know there was one episode there where he was trying to be a taxi driver, and he was in Delhi, India, and that's definitely one of the biggest city, most popular cities in the world there. But, for example, here in Canada, we were told to, look this way or look that way when he changed lanes. But I know in that episode in India there, people freaked out when he was driving, looking, because apparently the culture there is that you just look ahead and go in, which I don't know how that would work here. But that was definitely one thing that really stood out when he did the Don't Drive Here. And I do wonder if his experiences from that translated to his last few seasons on Canada's Worst Driver, and maybe tempered expectations, especially when you had some contestants that come from different parts of the world there. But yeah, I mean, I definitely say what I think he should do now. I mean, I personally think he'd definitely be great. Obviously, it'd be interesting to see him in a lead role in a action movie as well, but I definitely hope he can still find something to curate his personality, his quirky personality for on screen. And I mean, overall, based on my perception of him from watching those shows, he definitely looks like a great people person, and he definitely takes the limelight well, based on what I see online when people approach him. And he always shares stories of people approaching him on about, I saw you on the show, or I did because of the show from Canada's Worst Driver, for example, on how, I learned this and it got me out of this situation in real life there. And fortunately, we're going to miss that. And in a way, I'm kind of glad that the show ended that way, because I definitely would have not been the same show if they still continued it but had a totally different cast. Because that's exactly what happened with Canada's Worst Handyman there. That it was the same format in a way where they only had 5 contestants on the Canada's Worst Handyman show. Andrew hosted, and they had a couple experts, and he had a nominator and nominee. They never went home, but they progressed through the show and progressed on projects there, and someone gets named the best for the episode and worst and gets their private lesson, and then ultimately they have a final exam, and then based on who's the worst from there. But that show went on hiatus there for a couple of years there, but then they had a blood, sweat, and tools there where instead of nominate or nominating someone saying this person sucks, is bad at handiwork, they had couples work as a team, and eventually the one couple won $50,000. It only went for one season there, but it was definitely a different, fast-paced show than Canada's Worst Handyman, where both the worst shows were kind of both an educational show, but had a lighthearted, humorous take at the same time while being serious. And I still say that's what made Andrew such a great host in those shows there. Because if you see a lot of nominators and nominees, over the years, you definitely see the full range of people there, and there was definitely a lot of great people that I saw on the show. There was definitely a couple bad apples there that you could come to your conclusions who I think were the bad apples. There was definitely a lot more on the Canada's Worst Driver than the Handyman, but I'm going to say that's what makes Andrew Younghusband a better man than me, because I definitely wouldn't be able to tolerate some of those contestants there. But he definitely has had a cool gig up to this time, and definitely has seen the world, for sure. With his Don't Drive Here show, and Tougher Than It Looks, I'm sure he's been all over there, but hopefully, unfortunately with the Canada's Worst Driver show over, hopefully he can still somehow fulfill his career, and it'd still be nice if fans like me get to still see and enjoy his work just being Andrew Younghusband. And as I say, he definitely, be a great, narrator for, some history show or any show, or definitely be interested to see him as either a newscaster or someone out in the beat, or just, taking on that big Hollywood role. Who knows? So that's just my personal blog, number 47, and I just say what Andrew Younghusband should do now, in my opinion there. So, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and heck, maybe if you yourself, Andrew Younghusband, watch this, I definitely enjoyed your work, and definitely enjoyed you on all the shows that you were on, and you were definitely fun to watch, and pleasure to follow along over your journey, because I think you were he was 33 or 34 when he first started Canada's Worst Driver Season 1 there, and I'm 37, so he was just a couple years younger than me, being the host for all these people there, and he definitely, also going back to the Worst Driver there, he definitely picked up a lot of cool skills there, and I definitely, one of the parts he did before the challenges was being able to show that you could say it would be done by an average driver, and I don't think I'm average, but I would think I'd probably do most of those challenges. I know the icy corner definitely, it would trip me out, because I don't like driving in the wintertime, and it's a little sketchy to do that, especially I feel in this city that I live in. But going back to Andrew Younghusband, if you watch this yourself, I'm a fan of your work, and it would be interesting if I ever met you in person, and it would have definitely been interesting if I happened to be on the show there, but I'd try to, knowing that I'm on the show there, would definitely be one of your better contestants, but you never know. I just say thanks for all your work, and that's just my personal opinion, and you can decide to do what you want. But for everyone else, I mean, thanks for watching along, and I'll see you in the next video.